Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, and before you even open your eyes, your body has already made a decision regarding fat. Not the soft, pinchable fat on your arms or thighs, but the deep, hidden fat encasing your liver, intestines, and heart. The fat you can't see in the mirror. This unseen fat subtly influences your insulin levels, inflammation, and even your risk of heart disease. And here's the uncomfortable truth. What you do or don't do within the first 90 minutes after waking determines whether your body burns that visceral fat or keeps it stored for another day. Most people believe belly fat is simply a matter of calories in versus calories out. Eat less, move more, and eventually it disappears. However, visceral fat doesn't adhere to these rules. It is metabolically distinct and hormonally protected. It responds to signals entirely unrelated to your previous day's food intake. This fact alone transformed my perspective on my body, because once you grasp what's occurring internally during those early morning hours, you discover a biological window you never knew existed. Let's explore what visceral fat truly is and why your body treats it like a savings account it refuses to access. Visceral fat isn't merely storage, it's an active organ. It releases hormones, produces inflammatory chemicals, and communicates with your liver, pancreas, and brain. Unlike subcutaneous fat, the pinchable layer beneath your skin, visceral fat resides deep within your abdominal cavity, insulating your organs. And here's the astonishing revelation. You can appear slender externally, yet harbor dangerous levels of visceral fat internally. Researchers refer to these individuals as skinny fat, and their metabolic risk is nearly identical to someone with visible obesity. Here are 3 statistics that should grab your attention. First, studies indicate that even a 5% to 10% reduction in body weight can decrease visceral fat by up to 30%. Second, visceral fat is 4 times more metabolically active than subcutaneous fat, meaning it constantly releases fatty acids into your bloodstream. And third, this point genuinely surprised me. Visceral fat exhibits greater insulin resistance than other fat tissue, making it less efficient at absorbing blood glucose, thereby creating a vicious cycle of higher blood sugar and increased fat storage. Consider visceral fat like a warehouse that only opens under very specific conditions. Your body is reluctant to release it easily because, from an evolutionary standpoint, this deep fat served as your survival reserve, the last resource your ancestors consumed during famine. Consequently, your body has constructed a security system around it, hormonal locks that only open when the correct signals are present. And these signals are strongest in the morning. Let's trace what happens inside your body from the moment you wake up, because this is where everything shifts. Phase 1. The cortisol awakening response, 0 to 30 minutes. The instant you awaken, your body undergoes the cortisol awakening response, a natural surge in cortisol that occurs within the first 30 minutes of consciousness. While cortisol often has a negative reputation, in this context, it's beneficial. Morning cortisol isn't the stress-induced, belly fat-promoting cortisol you might have heard about. It's the get-up-and-go cortisol, the hormone that mobilizes energy. Here's the crucial point. Morning cortisol instructs your body to break down stored energy, including fat, and convert it into usable fuel. It's like a foreman entering the warehouse and announcing, "We need to access the reserves." But, and this is critical, if you immediately flood your system with food, especially carbohydrates, you halt this process. Your body switches from burning stored fat to processing incoming food. The warehouse door closes, insulin spikes, and the fat remains untouched. This explains why the first thing you consume matters more than your total caloric intake throughout the day. Phase 2. Insulin sensitivity. Peak 30 to 90 minutes. Between 30 and 90 minutes after waking, your body enters a period of peak insulin sensitivity. This means your cells are highly responsive to insulin, the hormone that regulates blood sugar. Studies have demonstrated that insulin sensitivity and beta cell responsiveness are higher in the morning, leading to superior glucose control. However, here's where it becomes intriguing. If you maintain a fasted state during this window, your body not only sustains insulin sensitivity, but deepens it. Your cells become even more efficient at utilizing whatever fuel is available. And since no food is entering the system, your body has no alternative but to draw from internal reserves, specifically visceral fat. Why visceral fat? Because it is metabolically active and highly vascularized, meaning it possesses a rich blood supply. When your body requires swift energy, visceral fat is actually more accessible than subcutaneous fat. The challenge is that most people never create the conditions for this to occur. Phase 3, the fat burning shift, 90 minutes onward. By the 90-minute mark, if you have delayed eating and incorporated light movement, your body undergoes a metabolic shift. Your liver begins producing ketones, small molecules generated from breaking down fat, and your muscles start preferentially burning fatty acids instead of glucose. This isn't full ketosis, which you'd experience after days of fasting, but it's a mini fat adaptation that happens every morning if you allow it. Think of it as switching fuel sources. Your body possesses two tanks, a glucose tank, quick energy, limited supply, and a fat tank, massive energy, almost unlimited supply. Most people wake up, eat immediately, and replenish the glucose tank before the fat tank is ever tapped. But if you wait, if you extend that overnight fast by just a few hours into the morning, your body has no choice but to access the fat tank. And because visceral fat is so metabolically active, it is the first to be utilized. Research published in Cell Reports Medicine in 2022 found that time-restricted eating, particularly when eating is delayed until later in the morning, significantly reduces visceral fat and improves metabolic syndrome markers, even without caloric restriction. In one study, participants who restricted eating to an 8-hour window starting at noon lost an average of 6.4 pounds over 12 weeks, with the majority of fat loss originating from the abdominal region. But here's the counterintuitive aspect that surprised researchers. The timing of your eating window matters more than its duration. A 2025 study from the National Institute on Aging discovered that starting your eating window later in the morning, around 10 a.m. or noon, was more effective for visceral fat loss than eating early but stopping early. Why? Because the morning fasted state, combined with natural cortisol rhythms, creates a unique metabolic environment that prioritizes deep fat burning. Let's delve deeper into what scientists once believed versus what we now understand, as the evolution of this research is fascinating. For decades, the prevailing wisdom was simple: exercise in the morning, eat breakfast to boost your metabolism, and calories in versus calories out would handle the rest. Breakfast was touted as the most important meal of the day, and skipping it was thought to slow your metabolism and cause your body to hoard fat due to starvation fear. What we know now is that this entire model has been overturned. Research from the University of Michigan in 2024 found that individuals who exercise before eating exhibit healthier belly fat composition. Their fat stores are more efficient at releasing energy and more insulin sensitive. More importantly, alternate day fasting and time-restricted eating consistently demonstrate that extending the overnight fast into the morning leads to preferential visceral fat loss. A 2022 study in JAMA Internal Medicine examined early time-restricted eating, eating between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m., versus midday restricted eating, noon to 8 p.m. The surprising discovery: the midday group lost more visceral fat, even though both groups consumed the same amount of food. The researchers hypothesized that delaying food intake allowed the body's natural fat-burning hormones to operate longer without interruption. Another breakthrough emerged from research on the cortisol awakening response. For years, cortisol was demonized as the stress hormone responsible for belly fat. However, a 2017 systematic review found that morning cortisol actually promotes fat oxidation, the breakdown of fat for fuel. It's only when cortisol remains elevated throughout the day, chronic stress, that it becomes problematic and encourages abdominal fat storage. Morning cortisol, conversely, is your body's natural wake-up signal to mobilize energy reserves. Here's one of the most astonishing discoveries. A study published in Frontiers in Physiology in 2022 found that alternate day fasting significantly decreased visceral fat and liver fat deposits in patients with obesity and type 2 diabetes, even without overall weight loss in some participants. This suggests that fasting doesn't merely reduce total body fat. It specifically targets the dangerous visceral and ectopic fat that surrounds organs. What about exercise? The research here is equally compelling. A 2019 study from Healthline found that 24-hour fat burn was highest when participants exercised in the morning before breakfast. Why? Because exercising in a fasted state compels your body to rely on fat stores for fuel. When you eat first, your body burns those incoming calories instead. It's akin to trying to clear out your garage while new boxes constantly arrive. You never get to the old items. But here's the critical nuance. Not all exercise is equal. High-intensity interval training, HIIT, has been shown to be more effective at reducing visceral fat than moderate-intensity continuous exercise. A 2025 review in Obesity Reviews found that HIIT creates an afterburn effect. Your metabolism remains elevated for hours following your workout, continuing to incinerate fat even during periods of rest. However, an important safety consideration must be addressed. Before embarking on a regimen of morning fasting and exercise, I need to emphasize who this approach is not suitable for. Individuals with diabetes or conditions affecting blood sugar regulation should consult their physician beforehand, as fasting can lead to dangerous drops in blood glucose. Pregnant or breastfeeding women have distinct caloric and nutritional requirements. Anyone with a history of eating disorders may find fasting triggers unhealthy patterns. Furthermore, individuals taking medications that mandate consumption with food, and children and teenagers who require steady nourishment for growth should abstain. For all others, this strategy is not about restriction, it's about optimal timing. It involves collaborating with your body's innate rhythms rather than opposing. So, what does this look like in practice? Allow me to guide you through a pragmatic morning routine designed to prompt your body into visceral fat-burning mode. From minute 0 to 5 upon waking, immediately drink a substantial glass of water, approximately 16 to 20 ounces. You may add a pinch of sea salt if desired, which aids in electrolyte balance and can alleviate morning sluggishness. This water serves a dual purpose. It rehydrates you after 7 or 8 hours without fluids, and it signals to your digestive system that you're awake without initiating an insulin response. Morning movement, from minute 10 to 40. This is where the true benefit lies. Within 10 to 30 minutes of waking, engage in gentle to moderate physical activity. This could involve a 20 to 30-minute outdoor walk. Morning sunlight also contributes to regulating your circadian rhythm and cortisol levels. Alternatively, consider gentle yoga or stretching, light resistance training, or bodyweight exercises such as squats, push-ups, or planks. Zone 2 cardio, where you can comfortably maintain a conversation, is also effective, as it helps metabolize stress hormones without inducing additional stress. The crucial element is to move while you are still in a fasted state. During this time, your body is optimally prepared to draw energy from fat reserves. You are essentially capitalizing on your cortisol awakening response and sustained insulin sensitivity. The fasting window, from minute 40 to 180 and beyond. Following your physical activity, continue your fast for at least 90 minutes from waking, ideally for 3 to 4 hours. Throughout this duration, consume black coffee or green tea. Both contain compounds that enhance fat oxidation. Stay hydrated with water or herbal teas. Rigorously avoid anything containing calories, including milk, sugar, or protein shakes, as these will interrupt the fast and provoke an insulin spike. Should you experience shakiness, dizziness, or intense hunger, listen to your body. This routine is not intended to inflict discomfort. Begin with a shorter fasting period, perhaps 60 minutes, and progressively extend it as your body adapts. Breaking the fast, around noon. When you do consume food, prioritize protein, which stabilizes blood sugar and preserves muscle mass. Healthy fats promote satiety and support hormone production. Fiber-rich vegetables nourish gut bacteria and slow glucose absorption. Crucially, avoid starting with refined carbohydrates or sugar, as these will rapidly elevate insulin and halt fat burning for the remainder of the day. A suitable first meal might comprise scrambled eggs with avocado and spinach, a handful of berries, and black coffee, or a protein smoothie with almond butter. How does that sound? Here's something many people overlook. This morning routine isn't solely about burning fat today. It's about cultivating metabolic flexibility in your body, the capacity to efficiently alternate between utilizing glucose and burning fat for energy. Most contemporary humans are metabolically inflexible, operating in a perpetual sugar-burning mode because they never provide their bodies with a reason to access fat stores. When you consistently practice a morning fasted routine, your body adapts. Your mitochondria, the cellular energy factories, become more efficient. Your insulin sensitivity improves. Your cells develop a greater abundance of fat-burning enzymes. Over weeks and months, your body transforms into a more proficient fat-burning machine, even outside the morning window. And here's the remarkable aspect. Visceral fat is not only hazardous, but also highly responsive to lifestyle modifications. Unlike persistent subcutaneous fat found on the thighs or arms, visceral fat diminishes relatively rapidly when appropriate metabolic conditions are established. This is due to its high metabolic activity. The very characteristic that makes it dangerous also renders it vulnerable. A 2024 study reported by NPR indicated that individuals who exercise regularly possess a healthier abdominal fat composition, meaning their existing fat is more metabolically benign, more effective at releasing energy, and less inflammatory. This suggests that even if significant weight loss isn't achieved, improving the quality of your adipose tissue offers protection. Let's summarize. This morning, your body was prepared to serve you. It had spent the entire night repairing, detoxifying, and preparing to utilize fat for fuel. The cortisol surge, the heightened insulin sensitivity, the metabolic shift towards fat oxidation, all of it was already in motion. The question is, did you allow this process to unfold, or did you interrupt it with a bowl of cereal and a glass of orange juice? This is not about demonizing food or romanticizing deprivation. It's about strategic timing. It's about recognizing that your body is intelligent, adaptable, and protective. It desires to burn visceral fat. It has simply been awaiting the correct signal. And that signal is straightforward. Space between sleep and food. Movement before nourishment. Patience before eating. This is a tool, not a miracle. It will not yield instantaneous results. However, if you consistently provide your body with this morning window, 3, 4, or 5 mornings a week, you will begin to observe changes. Not just on the scale, but in how you feel. Your energy levels will stabilize, your hunger will become more manageable, your clothes will fit differently around your waist, and internally, invisibly, your visceral fat will start to recede. Your body is not undermining you. It is not defective. It has been protecting you with the resources it had. Now, you are equipping it with a superior tool. So, my question to you is, what surprised you most? The biology of cortisol and insulin? The timeline of fat burning? Or the concept that your body is an ally rather than an adversary? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Someone reading your experience might find it beneficial. And if you desire more scientifically grounded explanations devoid of exaggeration, subscribe. I look forward to seeing you subscribe. In our upcoming video, we'll delve into the common misconceptions surrounding muscle loss during fasting and explain why overlooking these errors can subtly undermine all your efforts.